I was hired as a security guard at Disney World. I just discovered the horrifying secrets they're hiding. When I got hired at Disney World, I thought I was going to be working at the happiest place on earth. That was until I got the complaint that would ruin my life forever. I picked up the phone and heard an angry woman say, "Yeah, what is up with the new additions? It scared the hell out of my kids." I told her we hadn't made any new additions in a long time and asked her to clarify the issue. In an almost aggravated tone, she told me, "The fish robot animatronic got way too close to the boat. It almost hurt my kid." I had no clue what she was talking about because there weren't supposed to be any fish animatronics at Disney World. I called my supervisor over the walkie-talkie and told her what the woman had told me. I could sense a tone of worry in my manager's voice, and she told me to meet her at the break room. I went there and sat in the cold room for a few minutes until my manager finally came in. She locked the door and made sure that we were the only two in there. She told me, "I got approached by a few guys today, and they told me they saw what looked like a mermaid near the ride. I just assumed they were crazy or high, but if someone else saw it, we need to tell the ride runners." My manager and I headed towards the inner tunnels that led to the mechanical room for the ride when a woman sprinted out of the exit, sobbing her eyes out. We quickly brought her to the break room and asked what was wrong. Through her sons, she tried to explain that while she was on the ride, she saw something pass the boat. Now, the water in the ride is not very deep, so what she described next sounded absurd. It looked like a mix between a fish and a person. Its arms were only a few inches long, and I saw the effing gills. It had huge eyes, no nose, and a gaping mouth. We calmly asked her what color the scales were. She said, No, it didn't have scales. It was flesh." Within 5 minutes, the ride was shut down. I didn't have high enough clearance to know what they were doing to find the thing in the ride, but my manager was cool enough to tell me what they found. She said that a disgusting mound of flesh was left on top of the dog, but nothing else was seen. Now, like I said before, I was just a normal worker, so I don't know about any investigations they did about the incident, but I do know when the next messed up thing happened. A few days later, I was working in Hollywood studios doing janitorial work when I heard a family talking as they left the great movie ride. "Did you hear Kevin scream at the alien scene?" A tween boy pushed the girl, who I assumed was his sister. "Shut up! The robot came so close to us, did you see its eyes?" This was a red flag. I assumed they were talking about the xenomorph scene, but what they were saying didn't add up. So yet again, I called up my supervisor. My supervisor there was a pretty young guy, I'd say about 25 years old, so he thought I was messing with him when I told him. But he had heard what happened at the previous ride, so he quickly took me seriously. He asked, "What did it look like?" I immediately chased the family and then asked them what happened. The mother told me, "Well, first, the slobber was a gross touch. It got on my nice sunglasses. A warning would have been nice." I told her to explain the creature she saw, and that was when she said, "The ostrich human thingy. It was covered in flesh, had bent legs, arms in the shape of wings, and a really long neck." I felt very uneasy, so I got away from them as quickly as I could and told my supervisor what they said. He told me that he would handle it and to get back to work. I stalled a bit doing my work so I could stay pretty close to the ride. It was shut down within minutes, and the plain-clothed Disney workers went inside the ride. But then, 5 carts drove up to the ride. 8 men holding medical masks and black briefcases ran inside. This was one thing that I had never seen before. These Disney workers were breaking the magic, so it had to be serious. Luckily, this supervisor was pretty cool too, and explained what they found there. Little pieces of flesh were scattered around the Wizard of Oz scene, but something else was left there. A sticky note attached to the witch's broom. 2 words were written on it: "We're here." The next week felt really weird among the cast members. A lot of them explained that they felt like they were always being observed. I could notice that the secret security had been beefed up in every park. I even got to talking with one that was down in the tunnels under the Magic Kingdom. He told me, "I don't know much. They just told me that if I saw something suspicious, call the suits. People that have worked at Disney know what the suits are. They are pretty much Disney's CIA." No, not in some freaky conspiracy kind of way, but whenever there is a serious threat to patrons' safety in the parks, the suits are there to respond. They don't actually wear suits, we just call them that. Because of the CIA parallel, they are usually behind the scenes ready to go at any given moment. They do all wear black polos though, so if you're at Disney and you see an unusually high amount of black polos in one area, you're probably in danger, and you don't even know it. But back to the story. The last time I was involved in one of these incidents was 2 days before I quit. I was on the nightly cleanup shift. When all the patrons left the park, I was out there cleaning their mess up. This particular night I was working alone in the line for Splash Mountain. I was nearly done with my shift until I heard a quiet voice. Hop, hop, hop. I looked up and saw that right at the entrance of the ride, a log was in the water, and someone was in the front seat. The lights were all off, and I had left my flashlight on the ground, so I could barely see the person besides the outline of their body. "Hey, the ride is closed. I'm going to have to ask you to leave, please." I could see the figure shift. Whoever it was getting out of the log, so I picked up my flashlight and shined it on them. To this day, I wish I hadn't. On the platform was this monstrosity, on all fours, in a crab walking formation, but its head was straight up. Jesus Christ, its head had the eyes of a human but the nose of a rabbit. Oh, and it wasn't covered in fur, or any type of clothing. It was covered in bare flesh. Even the ears were covered with flesh. The creature started advancing towards me in awkward, jerking motions, but it was moving pretty slow, so I sprinted back towards the exit. As I was racing towards the exit, I pulled out my walkie-talkie and screamed into it that I needed a suit right away. I stood outside the entrance for about a minute, making sure that the thing wasn't behind me anymore, before a suit finally came. This time, it was something I had never seen before. He had a pistol with him. The suit checked all over the ride and only found a few things, little piles of flesh, and another sticky note taped to one of the vultures before the big drop. We won't leave. For the next day, they let me stay in a nice room in one of the pop hotels. People came to the room a few times asking what I had seen, but when I started to ask them questions, they all seemed to clam up. This pissed me off to no end, so I decided to quit. Since I quit, the company has cut literally all ties with me. Back around December, for some reason I really wanted to go back there. They said yes, but only if they could do a screening. They gave no context for that, so I declined. I don't know what happened with those weird occurrences. The cast members that I still talk to have said no weird stuff has gone on since that night. I have my theories on what those things were, but here is all I can say. Disney is a much more powerful corporation than many people think. I personally believe that those things were a product of someone that Disney had pissed off, or something that they had created themselves. All I know is what I saw last summer will never leave my mind.